Welcome to 20 Minutes of Clarity.
I'm your host, Jason Noble, and with me today is Andy, the man merchant. I love that you have that on your name now. Love it. And I got a special guest with us today. For those who are watching, she's right to the right of me. It's Regan Hilleman. She is an intern with us here at Prime Capital Investment Advisors, and we're excited to have you on today.
I'm excited to be here.
We're going to talk about something unique and different. We're talking about mid-year cleanup and the things that you could be doing at this time of the year so that you have a very successful back half of the year. And the topic today is going to be ongoing information or education that you could be doing so that you could then take that, go back to your portfolio, go back to your plan, and see if you can implement and execute on it. So stay tuned for the next about 20 minutes or so that we could go into this. And I'm just going to kick it off on some things that we do, Andy, which are like education events or like webinars or like seminars. When you're doing a webinar or a seminar, I should say, like Wealth in Court, how does that go about providing information and education for those who attend so they can make better informed financial decisions?
Well, yeah, I mean, the basis of everything that we do under the Clear Picture Wealth program is to help people, simplify the complex relationship they have with their wealth. And what better way to do it than to start to introduce some of the key planning concepts and decision-making concepts that you have to make. And Jason, you and I have been in this business long enough, and as Reagan's learning as she's interning with us, that, there is a lot of information being thrown at people every single day. It's been generally sold on products. And so doing events like Wealth Uncorked or certain seminars is we're focusing on the planning and the why structure. When you leave an event, a live event, you should come out understanding why you're doing it, not just to sell to purchase something. And I think that's kind of the big difference of how we approach it and why we do kind of stand behind the educational, mindset and core value that we have.
I'm going to just provide some transparency more to what's going on in the industry. I'm going to lift the veil up a little bit on this. We did an event last night, and when we were done, we had questions like, hey, why didn't you discuss like an annuity and this and that? And we were like, well, we're not here for a product. We're here to educate so you could take this information and make better informed decisions with it later. And like, why are so many advisors that do like dinner seminars talking about annuities? Well, it's high commission. They get one person in that room or two people in that room to buy an annuity from them. It pays for that dinner and then some, so they could do it again, right? No, but if you're working with a fiduciary and they're there to educate and provide you that resource, then okay, well, you're doing it because you want to give back to the community and help the community make better informed decisions. Now, if they come in and meet with us and they want to then to hire us, well, then great. That's wonderful, right? We do second eye opinions quite a bit. Earlier today, Regan and I were sat in 2 meetings, and we identified high commissions and lack of transparency. I mean, one of the clients, when they go, how do you get paid to the advisor? He goes, you know what? I don't even really. Do you remember that?
It was crazy.
Who says
I
that?
was like, I can't believe that they actually said that to them.
I mean, I'm still flabbergasted about this. Hey, that's a good word, flabbergasted. But let's get back on point. So, like, I want to transition now to like social media, right? Like TikTok. I know what it is, Regan, but like people getting financial information from like, let's say TikTok specifically. What are your thoughts on that?
Gosh, well, thinking about it, first thing, it's like probably not the smartest thing to do. I feel like I've found that TikTok is just not reliable as a whole. But as a 20-something-year-old on TikTok in college, it's kind of like if I'm going to see something there, I'm probably going to think about it. But in terms of reliability, I wouldn't say it's reliable at all.
So like you could be watching something and you go, okay, that's an interesting concept.
Right.
Okay, but then like how do you then determine the quality of like the advice or even the credentials of the person who's spouting whatever on TikTok?
For sure. I feel like it would just take outside like resources to even like look them up. But I feel like most people on TikTok are definitely not doing that.
No, probably not.
At all.
I love what you're saying there too, because, really people crave information, right? And in today's world, we have such short attention spans to information. There's a lot of people that are like, I can't attend the live seminar event, or maybe I didn't get on the mailing list because I didn't meet the financial mailing requirements, which is generally defined by net worth and age. There's a lot of, the upcoming Regans of the world who are the future of tomorrow's wealth. They're like, well, maybe if I could start making really better, more informed decisions today, then how do I go tomorrow? But I don't think I'm going to be able to encourage you to come to a 2-hour long seminar talking about Social Security strategies, or would you be interested in that?
Not at all.
Yeah, you're going to be like, is it even going to be there when I'm even at eligible age, right? So the idea really behind this kind of today's top podcast and what we strive to do so much for our listeners is we want to just kind of light the fuse of that interest, right? We want you to say, what is that topic? Even if it's on TikTok, let it light the fuse, or, our social media reels or other things that we do, or this podcast. But then you have to go and get educated in a little bit more depth, like get it relatable to you, right? So that's where you can come in, you can check out, I know Jason and I put together tons of white papers and we put blogs together. So take that interest, get a little deeper, if it's something that like, hey, then you got to engage with it. That's when you start to come in and you start making those decisions. But I'm all about the curiosity around topics, because there is so many different topics.
I'm agreeing. I'm never going to throw water onto a flame of curiosity, right? No, go explore what that is. But then I was researching a different approach, an investment approach that was being presented to you and I, Andy, at one of our national conferences. And so I have all the do not distribute to the public for our information, our education, and that, right? Mm-hmm. So then I'm going, okay, where would my clients go, or where would someone go if they wanted to learn more about it? So I went to YouTube, okay? And I watched 5 videos. 3 videos were people saying, I can't stand these things, here's why you shouldn't do it. And then the 2 others were like, I love them, they're the best thing ever, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Well, then I researched all 5 of those people. Who are they? I even looked in how they even get compensated. You can find that on brokercheck.org. If you know where to look, you can find almost anything on the internet, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I know where to look. I know where to find it. Well, of the 5 that presented, this is crazy. 2 were not even in the industry. Like what were they doing? And I couldn't find what they did for a living. Maybe you could in maybe 30 seconds. But okay, so and my father delivered mail. He could be on a podcast right now talking about financial matters. And Dad, thank you for watching and listening. I love you. But please don't start a podcast on that topic. Maybe grilling or something else, right? And then the other advisors, the other 3, they were practicing advisors. 2 were commissioned. 1 was held to the fiduciary standard. Now, okay, if you're a professional, I'm going to say this: you're entitled to your opinion. But when you put your opinion out as a fact, 100% fact, and you don't factor on the pros and cons of any other decision on it, then you're just espouting your viewpoint to drive some sort of behavior that you want the audience to take. So I gotta go. I gotta gut check us, Andy. What is the purpose of 20 minutes of clarity? Okay, because right now someone's watching this on YouTube and they're like, he just told me not to watch this, right?
Hey, it's really to fill an hour of my calendar with you. And that's the primary reason we did this. No, it's what our passion, and it's getting to that point. It's helping people differentiate the what and convert it to the why, right? Education is about why you do something, not what you're doing it for. The what's important, that's the feature, but the benefit's the why. And what at the end of the day, in our business and in wealth and helping people become educated, and the importance of this is to stay engaged. If you're educated enough on what's going on, you react less emotionally and more intelligently. And that's the point of 20 minutes of clarity, is that we try to do small drips because we understand attention spans of hour-long podcasts just don't work anymore unless it's a specific industry insight. We're trying to educate the general public on a lot of different topics in small bites so that they can feel more confident with whatever information is relevant. And then from there, they then can decide, right? What we hope for is that they'll go out and pick out little pieces of information to dive deeper. And if they are completely confused, right, Jason, that's when they come to us. That's when they can go to clearpicturefinancial.com, meet with one of our other partners, and then go through their own analysis and say, this is why I'm doing what I heard, so I mean, this is my favorite thing is telling people and educating. I know you and I get to a point where we overeducate because we're just get so geeky in the information. I was with I tell a story. I was with a group last night and we were talking annuities, and they're like, I don't know why I'm in this, and I said, I don't know why you're in it either. And it feels like we're picking on annuities, which is not the point of this, because annuities do fit in a lot of people's strategies. But I'm explaining it, and as I'm explaining it, he's like, I get it. And then I decided to say, well, I'm going to go explain more, right? So then I start going into more stuff. He's like, okay, now my head hurts. So it's finding that balance of that. But we're so educated on it, but we got to remember that those that are listening and viewing today, we recognize that you don't have maybe the full understanding. That's why our industry and our profession exists. But staying informed, staying curious, to stay relevant with your plan and engaging on the what, or on the why, not the what, I think is the message of today.
I also want to turn over to Regan on going in college. Was there like a particular course, or was there a tactic that was used by a professor that really stood out to you and your classmates, where you got a lot of great content and great information, but it was relevant, it was important to you?
Yeah. I feel like one of the courses in my kind of course schedule was one of my entrepreneurship classes, and the professor actually gave us a ton of autonomy when it came to the syllabus. So kind of directing how we turn in things, what we're kind of learning. I feel like as a student, we learn all this material, but it's why not just learn what we actually want to understand and kind of grasp? And so I feel like there was just more of us going to class. There was more of us turning in the assignments that we actually wanted to do and put forth our research and our efforts. I feel like that was the class that stood out to me a lot and was one of my favorite classes in college.
I wish I had a class like that in college, create the syllabus. And I gotta say, when you when I think about what you just said, mm-hmm. when we do an education event, or we put out, here's the topics that we're going to be discussing. Mm-hmm. But when we reach out to confirm attendance, we're like, is there anything else you would like to make sure that we address during this conversation? Even though in the room there might be, let's just say 50 people, yeah. There's going to be 50 different financial plans, 50 right. different concerns and everything. But when they give us back that feedback, I know Andy and I, when we work collaboratively together on doing a live event, we will take that feedback and redo certain topics mm-hmm. to make sure we're covering what's relevant and important to those who are attending. So it's that walk away that you had from that class where you're like, wow, our voices were heard.
Yeah.
We got to learn what we wanted to learn. Andy and I are doing that as well, just in a different format. We don't have those who pay right. all this thousands of dollars to go to our Clear Picture University. Could you imagine that? See, now Andy has a new idea.
Tomorrow.
Right, yeah.
It's coming.
But and then they create the syllabus. But no, what they're creating is the content that they want to hear because that's what's on their mind. Yep. Andy, what do you have to say as far as what Regan just shared with us? I thought it was really unique and cool.
I think the biggest part of what I took from what you just said, Regan, and that is that you were able to kind of stay engaged and help implement your own path, right? Too often, right, and especially in the educational format, which your experience is that you have an instructor who gives you the game plan, and then you have to implement their game plan in order to achieve the end goal, which is passing the class, right? Mm-hmm. If you think about it in the wealth plan, we're hired as advisors to give a game plan to a client that if they implement, they'll get their end goal. But is it their plan? Is it our plan? Right. And the big difference of where that crosses and changes, it needs to be their plan that we're helping coaching towards. And I think it's so important. I think that you sharing that experience is a really eye-opening for maybe how people should approach how to maybe run a better class. But for today's world, but two, it's something so important that if you're not involved and engaged in your own journey, then it's not going to be a lot of fun. It's probably going to be done, kind of limited. And it's not going to meet the execution at least you're not going to enjoy the ride, And so there's a lot of things to learn there. There's a lot of steps to learn. Everything's got to be tailored. And I keep going back to, it sounds like you got a lot out of the why and not what you're doing the class for. and you're able to kind of implement it at the pace that you wanted to, as long as you met the certain coaching deadlines requirements. So I think it's a great story. I love it. But I want to turn it back. So just because of our timing here, Regan, for you, why let's educate our audience, and I want to be educated. Why'd you have an interest in our industry? Like, what attracted you to us? Not just Prime, but just the industry in general. I love seeing new faces in the industry.
That's right.
Thanks. It's a really good question. I feel like as I went through college, like you've been talking about, everything is just kind of like their own plan. This is what we're going to do, and here's going to be the end goal. And so I feel like I really put finance in this bubble of like, it is just really complicated. I have no idea what to do with it, and the classes seem really hard. And that's kind of how I viewed it all up until now. And I feel like after coming to Prime, I feel like I put finance in this bubble, and there's just like so much more to it, and how it is like just such a great industry one to go into. But something that also interests me is just like the people side of it. Like, I didn't know that this specific role as like being a financial advisor had all of these things that I had limited in college, because that's like all I had known, but that it is just so much more than that. So I feel like that's like really what attracted me to like finance, was just kind of like, wow, I can't believe I just kind of limited it to this like little, just really not the best thing ever. And just how after coming to Prime and seeing how it is like just totally even more than that. So
well, that's because you get to sit next to Jason Noble, right? I mean, that's going to open your view to everything. But no, that's powerful, and I love hearing it, because I think it ties really well into our conversation today, our podcast topic about, mid-year reviews and staying informed. It's like, if you continue to go down the path of the same old way and not opening your mind and trying to maybe ask questions or stay educated or take a little extra intentionality, you might be missing a whole other side of the coin. I mean, we review documents after documents. We're constantly reading, which is not what I don't think most of the people want to do. They're like, hey, I had a hard day's work. I'm going to go home and read a bunch of financial documents, right? That's the benefit of having a true partner. And the exciting part of our industry is that we are definitely shifting to more of consultative than the old stuffy way of selling a product, right? And if clients become more educated on the industry, like what you're learning, and seeing a whole different side of that picture, it's like, wow, maybe I could approach some of these advisory relationships with better questions, with better insight. And if you're not getting the direction that you want, and they're not able to provide you because they're using the old mindset, then don't limit yourself. You got money one time. You can lose it, you can make it back, but do you want to go through that stress and headache to do that? But I'm excited for your journey. I'm glad you're going through the partnership with us. Our job as advisors is to educate, the internship program. And so we're excited to learn and provide you with a little bit of that insight. But no, fun topic today.
Well, I couldn't help but think of like my own personal journey. I haven't thought about this in a long time. It was just, I was interning at a law firm, Andy and Regan, when I was 15 years old, because I wanted to be a lawyer, right? It's what I wanted to do. And all the lawyers in the office, they were investing in the market. And I was like, what is the market? Like, what is this thing you're talking about?
You go buy groceries at it?
Yeah, you could do, hey, get some food. And they're like, no, don't do that. So then they were like, okay. The lead attorney was like, read this book. And it was around personal finances. It was The Richest Man in Babylon. That was my first book I ever read on personal finances. And it hooked me. I was so fascinated on, wait a second, I get money to work as an intern. That's cool. And then and I don't have to pay rent to my parents yet, right? Because I was 15, right? But I could put money and I could actually have it work for me. I was so fascinated with that, Andy. And it just got to a point where that fascination became a passion. And that passion became my career. And it's like, I had my foot on the gas coming into work every single day over that Ravenel Bridge, because I can't wait to see whose life could I impact that day with the experience, the knowledge, and the wisdom that I've acquired over the years, to put their interests first and put them in a position to achieve their life's ambitions.
Well, Jason,
this is what I share. But Andy, I know you have that passion, because most times when I'm driving into work over the Ravenel, I'm on the phone with Andy talking about one thing or another.
Well, that's where this started, right? And I know as we wind up here, I think that's a fun story to share. Is if you stay thirsty for education, and you find different paths, I mean, I love it. Books, we do forget that books still exist and books are still relevant. They're nice because you can engage with them, you can go back to them. But, in today's world, podcasts, I hope you tune into other podcasts. Just don't ever make it less of a priority than this one, right? For those that are out there tuning in. But start with getting podcasts. Start by reading books. They'll all spark that. And the reason I say that as I land my plane, Jason, as you and I started this conversation, every single day I took my kid to school. We sat in a line before the bell rang so he could get out of the car and go in. And I listened to podcasts every morning. Primarily at that time, I was really focused on optimizing cash flow strategies, right? Next thing, one day I get out of the car and my son walks up to me and he goes, Dad, tell me more about how this cash flow and how assets and liabilities work, okay? Keep in mind, he's 12. It sparked his curiosity to learn more, and it led to, what he did in class, Jason, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. His teacher one day was talking about debt, and she says, debt's bad. That was her message to the students. And he goes, well, not necessarily. Debt is bad if it goes to a bad asset, but if it goes to a leveraged asset that can increase your net worth, it actually could be a good way to increase that as long as it's cash flow producing, because that's what he learned. So today, fast forward, he already knows what he wants to do. He's even given me a resume and he's ready to start working. And but curiosity got sparked. He got educated through a podcast that he listened to hanging out with Dad in the back of the car. And today it's going to change his life, hopefully. Right. So I encourage you guys all, stay thirsty, my friends. Who says that with the Dos Equis commercial? They don't want to sponsor us, but anyway, so fun days.
What I love is that you were learning yourself, but you put it in a position where your children could also learn. And I'm also hearing we're going to have a future guest on our podcast. When we go into like the cash flow and proper debt management,
Seriously.
right? Well,
13. He'll be 13 by then, so it'll be a 13-year-old perspective on cash flow. How raw can it get?
That would be 13 minutes of clarity on that podcast. But that would be 20 minutes of clarity. I'm Jason Noble. We got Regan with us today, and Andy, the man merchant. Thank you so much. Tune in next time. We appreciate you.